Sean Levine will step into the cage with Brendan Tobin in Are You Gonna Fight Me?
I'm gonna fight your ass!
Here on Tapped Out.
That's right, fight me like a man!
Only on the BetQL network.
You know the rules. I want a good, clean fight. When I tell you to break, I want you to step back up my command and break. Now go back to the corner and come out fighting at the bell.
Hour number 2 here on the BetQL network with Brendan Tobin. I am the sports machine, Sean Levine. UFC 303 tonight, looking forward to it. Even though we don't get Conor McGregor and Michael Chandler, it's a great card, dude. Alex Pereira versus Yuri Prochazka. Brian Ortega, who joins us here in a little while, and Diego Lopez, Anthony Smith, Roman Delice, Ian Gary versus MVP. There are all kinds of good fights on this one. We'll talk about the method of the madness, who's going to win, how they're going to win a little bit later on in the show. But right now, it's time for everybody's segment, You're Going to Fight Me, where I beat you up on the radio. Let's talk a little boxing. Anthony Joshua is going to fight Daniel Dubois coming up. First of all, real quick, who wins that fight? Anthony Joshua, right?
Really, really good fight. I'm going to lean Joshua, and I don't know. I can't believe that I'm using a Francis Ngannou matchup, but he looked really, really good against Ngannou. Really businesslike. I thought that was oddly a good telling moment for AJ. But I think in a weird way, the Francis Ngannou weirdness was telling for Tyson Fury too in the Usyk fight. So I just think that AJ has been looking good. And so I'm going to lean him in a Daniel Dubois matchup, even though Dubois is dangerous.
I'm with you. And it's weird, like you said, because you're judging Anthony Joshua on knocking out Francis Ngannou, which is crazy because I didn't think a Toyota Camry could knock out Francis Ngannou. But Ngannou did look really good against Tyson Fury. And then we looked at what Fury did last time against Usyk. That's why if you're trying to gamble on boxing or mixed martial arts, don't do the math. You drive yourself crazy trying to figure out this guy beat this guy. Just bet on your own intuition and what the odds tell you, which is why I mentioned Usyk. Let's say we're right and Anthony Joshua wins. You're going to fight me if I say Usyk will just knock him out.
If they fight again, yeah. I just think that Usyk's got that figured out. He's already got that whole puzzle solved already. And if AJ is gonna beat him, he has to get it done within 3 rounds. You know, it's very similar to Deontay Wilder, you know, third time around for Tyson Fury. It's like he's gonna have to really hurt him, and he's gonna make sure that he's got to stay down on the canvas. If it keeps going, eventually Tyson Fury is gonna get to the win. So it's not impossible because AJ can hit like a Mack truck, but I just think that, you know, Usyk's already been there, done that. You've been in there twice with him. He's pretty much solved it. Unless AJ could really find an effective way to go attack the body, which he had some success with in their matchups, if he could really, really commit to it without finding the second half of that fight, I just don't see Usyk getting it done outside of, you know, he had a really bad training camp or something like that. But straight up, we see who the better fighter is.
Hey, what about Teofimo Lopez? He fights tonight too.
Yeah, I mean, Teofimo's at an interesting point in his career. In this, I was supposed to actually, I was gonna try and get to this fight, Sean, but I ended up we got a Panthers parade coming up tomorrow morning.
Oh,
on
congratulations!
Fort Lauderdale
Did
Beach.
your hockey team win?
I am excited. But Teofimo is gonna be out there and he's taking on Steve Claggett, who, you know, it's not a huge test for him. He even called this is a rocky moment for him. You know, Teofimo's had some nice performances since the loss to George Kambosos. He's had some questionable ones. You know, when he first came back, he was asking his dad, even in the ring, do I have it anymore? You know, his Josh Taylor performance was very impressive to get the titles at 140. So I think it's important for him. I think he gets the win, but I feel like it's important for him to have a signature moment because, look, big fights are there to be made. You know, Devin Haney's looking for opponents. The Ryan Garcia thing is still there for him, you know, not for a few months, but it's there. Not for a few months, but it would be there for him. Even Gervonta Davis, like I think all of these guys are there on the table for him. If Vasily Lomachenko beats Gervonta Davis, a rematch against Vasily Lomachenko's there. That's the guy he took his belts from. So I do think that Teofimo has it's a very fruitful division. Ish. It's like it's not 135 to 140 range, has a lot of big matchups. He's kind of been on the outskirts of that stuff ever losing to George Kambosos. And so he very much could get himself back in there, because I think if you asked people back in 2020, 2019, who was going to be the best and biggest among the guys, I think they would have told you Teofimo Lopez. So very, very important matchup for him tonight, even though the opponent is not that sexy.
I think the Devin Haney fight for him makes the most sense after this. That's crazy. You just laid out a half a dozen options for Teofimo Lopez, who damn near retired in the ring, like you said, a couple of years ago. But he does have options. You're going to fight me if I say, I think he'd beat up Devin Haney.
I could see it. It's going to be interesting, because how does Devin Haney bounce back from the loss to Ryan Garcia? That's always such an interesting thing, because he lost to Cambosos. Teofimo lost to Cambosos and said he dealt with a lot of health stuff, but he's come back and he's rattled off wins. So how does Devin Haney if I were Devin Haney, I would probably take a fight to get right, much like Teofimo did before he got in there with the Josh Taylors of the worlds again and got really amongst elite competition. But look, man, I of course all that stuff's on the question, because Devin Haney, I think if we had this conversation 6 months ago, I would have said Devin Haney would wipe the floor with him, but certainly it feels like more of an even fight now.
Crazy to think back how big of an underdog Ryan Garcia was in that fight and how much he beat up Devin Haney just a couple of months ago. Brendan Tobin, Sports Machine, Sean Levine here on the BetQL network. We'll get to plenty of UFC 303 conversation. End of the show, we're going to make some money together, so don't go anywhere. Our method to the madness. I feel really good on a lot of fights and a lot of underdogs on this card tonight. Back to the boxing for a second. We got a bare knuckle fight coming up between Jake Paul and Mike Perry. You're going to fight me if I say somebody's getting knocked out. I don't know who it is, but somebody's getting knocked out in that fight. Come on.
I am going to fight you on that. I don't know.
Really?
Yeah.
Jake Paul knocks people out, and Mike Perry can knock out Jake Paul for sure in bare knuckle fight.
Is it bare knuckle? I thought this was boxing. You sure it's bare knuckle?
Well, I'm not 100% sure. Whatever the hell it is. Even if
I don't think he is. I think he's going to box. If it was bare knuckle, then I would agree with you more. But I'm pretty sure it's a boxing match.
For a second. Let me find out.
I'm pretty sure, because I talked to David Feldman from BKFC like a couple of weeks ago, because they were down here, and I asked him about sending my Perry over there. He goes, it's a risk, because he's like, if it loses to Jake Paul, my top guy looks bad. So I don't think it is bare knuckle. I think it is. I think that it's a boxing match.
Yeah, I'm still not changing. You're right. I looked it up here, damn it. But I'm still not changing my opinion.
I am.
I feel like a dumbass. Don't get me wrong, but I'm still not changing my opinion.
Hey, listen, it's not as bad as you thinking that Jailton Almeida actually had a lightsaber.
That's not even the worst thing that I said. One time I told you that Mickey Ward was going in the Hall of Fame when actually it was Andre Ward.
That's
Dude,
true.
I'm not perfect. All right. I got dropped on my head when I was a baby, not just once, but twice.
Do I think that one of them is going to get knocked out? No, I don't. I feel like it goes to the cards. I actually do think, though, if somebody does get knocked out, I think it's more likely Jake Paul gets knocked out. I think it's more. How about this? I think it's more likely Jake Paul gets knocked out in this fight than it is the Mike Tyson fight.
Okay.
If that fight ever happens.
I'll take it. No Conor McGregor tonight. You're going to fight me if I say he's going to fight at least one more time in the octagon. And I think it's going to be against Michael Chandler. I see you kind of wavering there, kind of like Conor McGregor has for the last couple of years himself. It just feels like, as they say in poker, he's pot committed. Like he's told everybody that he's going to fight. He has to fight at least one more time, right? Now you're starting to worry me.
One would think, but I can't get. Well, can I ask you this, Sean? Why should I think he's going to fight again?
Because we've seen other fighters kind of in this spot, like John Jones, for example, where it's the same thing, where he doesn't have to fight. These guys are addicted to it. Conor wants to prove that he can come back and win. He's not going to go out like he did with his ankle on sideways, getting off. The last time we saw him, he was on a stretcher, dude. Conor McGregor has as big of an ego as anybody that's ever fought. Can you see that being his last fight?
Yeah, I can, because where the hell's he been? It's been something punt. Like, look, I know this injury takes a long time to recover from, and that is the big factor. That's not John Jones. John Jones was dealing with suspensions or inactivity or boredom, but he didn't have a critical injury. Now he does, because he has a pec tear. But even he's trying to get back within a year plus his time, not 3 years. With Conor, it's a bad injury. He's richer than John Jones. He's now a movie star. I don't really understand, so
Then
I do
what's
think
changed is what I would ask. Like, then why not just 2 or 3 years ago, right after that happened, or 6 months or a year after when he filmed Roadhouse? Like, why the shenanigans?
why like just pretend that you're gonna fight.
Yeah, dude.
I think it keeps you
filmed an
relevant.
entire season of Ultimate Fighter.
I just think it keeps you relevant. I think the famous, there's a saying I have, Sean, the famous love fame. And I just think that Conor McGregor likes the relevancy. I think that you make more money when there's the potential that you're gonna fight. And yeah, I understand him saying that I don't want to go in less than 100% anymore, and that he's not going to compromise himself anymore and all that stuff. And that's fine. I just think for his standpoint, at his age, with everything that he's been through, when does he think that everything's going to be perfect for him going into a fight? Anything can happen. So, like, never, like, unless we have pristine conditions all the time, you think that's going to get easier as you get older? Like, it's not. So, yeah. And the other thing, I'll tell you another factor that has me not concerned, but just to add on to this is like, why is the UFC not running to go get a Conor McGregor fight, right? Like Dana White saying that I want to make sure he's 1,000%. Conor saying I want a date, and they're like, you'll wait for us. That would never happen 5 years ago. 5 years ago, with Conor McGregor is the biggest thing on the planet. They don't have the ESPN TV deal. They don't have that safety net. They would be running to have as many Conor McGregor dates as possible. But now it's like, we'll see if we can fit you in our schedule. If I was Conor, I'd be like, what? You fit in my schedule. What about my schedule?
I don't see it like you do. I think that Conor McGregor has so many outside interest and issues. And you know what I'm talking about. Whether it's his booze that he makes a lot of money on, whether it's his booze he likes to put into his system, whatever else he likes to put into his system, who knows exactly what it is. You see him on yachts and partying and movies. And this isn't me just saying hearsay. This is things that we've actually seen him do. And that he talks about himself. He's a busy person. And so what you're talking about back in the day, he was singularly focused on fighting. And it wasn't about all these other things. And now I think to him, fighting is kind of on the back burner where, yeah, maybe he puts out there on a post, I want to fight. Why aren't you giving one in the UFC? At that point, it's like, because, dude, we've already got our schedule out for the next couple of months, and we know that you're not reliable. They finally did give him a fight. They built it up. They gave him a season of Ultimate Fighter, and look what happened. So I think that the UFC knew exactly what they were doing and the risks that they were taking. And here we are tonight. It sucks, like, to be honest, that we don't get a Conor McGregor fight. Now you've got to piss me off.
Of course it sucks that we don't have a Conor McGregor fight.
Are you happy?
Of course it does, but I just think that it just feels like the UFC has dealt, like, we're in the post Conor McGregor era. We're in this, that they want themselves, they want their brand to be able to carry on no matter who it is. The faces can change, the names can change, the cards can change. I think that they're impressed. Like, we gave them a pat on the back to start this to start the show today. Like, wow, you guys took a Conor McGregor night and you maybe made it a deeper, better card. Of course, it doesn't have the luster of Conor McGregor. He's still the biggest thing in the sport, by far, bar none. We'll get you on First Take and have you actually caring about it. But I just think that age, durability, UFC kind of balking at his dates doesn't really give me a lot of confidence that we'll ever see him again. And also Conor also now putting up parameters of, I have to be 100% healthy. Okay, well, who's to say he's going to get through camp 100% healthy? He's going in there with a titanium leg, has never been the most durable guy to begin with as it is. So I don't know, man. Yeah, I have a lot of questions about it. And if it was all laid out there for you easily, like, okay, then I would say, yeah, Conor will fight again. But it just feels like with him these days, it's always something. And then if it's not him, it's the damn UFC. If it's not USADA, if it's not a movie, if it's not one thing after another, there's just always something else that has gotten in the way. And on top of all of that, he's coming back from an injury that nobody seemingly has come back from looking the same.
Well, thanks for raining on my parade. I was
Sorry.
303 tonight, dude. He used to have really cool hair, but not as cool as Brian Ortega. Ortega's got the coolest hair in maybe the history of the UFC. He actually joins us coming up here in a couple of minutes on Tapped Out. You're going to fight me if I say if it's not Ortega with the best hair in the UFC, it's probably Sean O'Malley, the guy that one time called you the fat guy on the left.
Fat and stupid.
That's true. That is true.
O'Malley's got cool hair, but he needs it to be rainbow. Honestly, if we're going OG great hair, I would go Benson Henderson. Benson Henderson.
Bendo. If we're going OG great hair, how about Big Country Roy Nelson and his mullet?
Yeah, that's great too.
How about Uriah Faber and those tight cornrows? Be honest with me now.
Uriah Faber's got great hair. Uriah Faber does have great hair.
Clay Guida? Can I get a hand for Clay Guida's hair?
I don't like trimmed up Clay Guida. It weirds me out.
It really does.
I don't like it.
And I was going to say Johnny Walker, but most of the time we've seen his hair recently, it's been when he's knocked out on the canvas. And Johnny Walker, it's like almost not funny to make fun of him anymore because I'm a little bit concerned with his it's not even a highlight reel, it's a low light reel. It's incredible how the ways and how many times the only person who's been knocked out more times in the last calendar year that's kind of laughable is Greg Hardy. Am I wrong?
Yeah. Greg Hardy's hair is pretty forgettable though.
Yeah. I don't talk about his hair. I'm talking about his ass getting knocked out.
Been a lot. It's happened a lot.
How many times combined in the last 2 years have Greg Hardy and Johnny Walker got knocked out where you're like, oh, I got to play that one back and see it again?
Oh, of course.
Play it back. I would say a dozen times. Brendan Tobin, Sports Machine, Sean Levine. Speaking of knockouts, tonight, coming off of one, Brian Ortega joins us right here on the BetQL Network.